Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started here in a minute. There's a sign-up sheet up here. If you'd like to speak, go ahead and sign up there. Senator Walker, since you got every bill in here except one, you just want to go ahead and set up here at the table?
Yes,
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm kind of a little scattered here.
That's all right. Go ahead and get you, if you need a minute to get ready.
Information and
Changing.
misinformation. So I didn't know what I'd be.
Let's see here.
Exactly what I'd be doing today.
You just tell us which one you want to start with.
Can we, Mr. Chairman, do you mind if we start with 374, which is
No, sir. That's fine.
might be the least or there might be a lot of discussion on it, but
Let me get my list up here, and we'll start with it. All right. So everybody signed up who needs to sign up, and oh Lord. Yeah. All right. If you signed up to speak, we're gonna try to give everybody time. If somebody's kind of says the same thing you are, just try to be quick about it, because everybody knows everybody's got. I know y'all got 10 other places y'all need to be at the same time. I'm ready whenever you are.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Over the interim, I chaired a Senate study committee on occupational licensing, and a lot of recommendations, in fact 11 recommendations came out of that study committee. One of them had to do with the professional land surveyors, and that's what Senate Bill 374 started out being about, is the licensing for professional land surveyors. I'm seeing for really the first time LC 365830S. In the committee's wisdom, that's your substitute to the bill. However, I was alerted to it and agreeable to, the changes, and Ms. Bowen, it's the soil, anyway, so it adds soil classifier legislation to the original professional land surveyor legislation. So I'm going to talk about the soil classifier part first, because that's in Section 1, I believe, of the bill. Soil classifiers are used when you do develop a subdivision, so they do soil surveys of your subdivision, tell you if the land perks or not. They're also used on individual home sites to determine if a septic tank can be appropriate. And again, it has to do with the percolation of the land. They're real critical to housing development all over the state, and as you know, we have a shortage of housing in Georgia, so they're in high demand. A lot of times the progress of a development is waiting on the soil classifier to do their job, so it's kind of a bottleneck to that process. And the soil surveyors came to us and wanted to streamline their licensing and reduce the amount of field experience required to be a licensed soil surveyor, and that's what is done in Section 1 of this bill with the hopes of being able to attract more workforce into this field and more licensed soil classifiers. The rest of the bill deals with the professional land surveyors, and really kind of the same story there. We all know what land surveyors do to a certain degree, but they really do a lot of very high-tech stuff with regard to landfills and stuff below the surface of the earth and above and all that. It's a pretty highly technical field, and they also are having trouble attracting new land surveyors into the industry, and part of it is how difficult it is to pass the exams and the length of time it requires in the field to be eligible to get your license. So they've come up with a two-pronged approach to try to attract more people into their industry, and a lot of them are kind of aging out also. First thing is they want to what they call decouple the exam requirements from the field experience. Under current law, you get your education part, your schooling, and then you have to do all your field experience before you can take the national and state exam. This would change it where you could take your exams immediately after completing the coursework while it's still fresh on your mind. The other part of it is they have three different pathways: high school diploma, associate's degree, or bachelor's degree. And in each of those three pathways, they're reducing the amount of field experience that is required before you would be eligible to get your license. So it's cutting down from, for example, on the high school diploma, I think it's currently, the way it's set up, it's going to take about 10 to 12 years of field experience because they have to do the field experience, then the exam. This cuts it back to 8 years. So it's still a lot of field experience with just a high school diploma, but then for the associate's degree, it cuts it back a couple of years, and then the bachelor's degree a couple of years. And there are people here that are in both of these industries that know more specifics about all this. If the committee has questions, they may be better qualified to answer them than me, especially as rattled as I am today.
Okay. Don't blame me. All right, let's go ahead and go to that. Let's talk about Section 1 first. Rusty Royston. Come right up here to the podium right here if you want to.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Thank you so much. We appreciate this opportunity. Our program actually got fully certified for soil classifiers back in 2000. We currently have about the same number of individuals certified to do this work in the state. And over the last economic bump, we had several septic permits that were many more permits than what we'd had previously. A lot of that was inventoried property that didn't get sold during the Great Recession, and people were starting to use that. But we're looking forward to trying to attract more people into our industry. This is just one step of many that we need to take, but we appreciate it, and I'm welcome to any questions.
All right, kind of go over what y'all have done on this, different than what the current law is.
The current law states that you have to have a 4-year Bachelor of Science degree in soil science or a related field, and you can't let any experience that you may have that you got before getting that education completed, it has to occur after you complete all of your educational requirements. So if somebody wanted to work for a soil classifier out in the field before they went to college, none of that experience could count. We're wanting that experience to start counting for them so they can start building up to get ready to get certified. Okay. We also have several other folks that work in industries that are related, wetlands consulting, that kind of thing. Currently, that experience doesn't count. We want the ability to look at it and say up to 2 years of that may count towards the overall 4-year experience requirement.
Okay. Does this right here have this don't have anything to do with a soil scientist that comes out that lays out where your silt fence has got to go and?
No, sir. This doesn't involve erosion and sediment control,
okay.
Just on-site wastewater applications.
Okay. All right. You got any more questions? All right.
Thank you
sir.
again. Appreciate it.
All right, and let's see here. So Spence Johnson.
Good afternoon. My name is Spencer Johnson, here representing the Survey and Mapping Society of Georgia. I don't have a whole lot more to add than Chairman Walker had. We've got a reduced number of surveyors in the state, and we're kind of aging out. We've done a couple of things to try to increase those numbers. One was we're decoupling the experience or the education requirements from the exam, allowing the applicant to go ahead and take the exam right after he gets through with his school, which we hope will increase the pass rate of our exams. And we've knocked down the experience on the bachelor's path, the associate's path, and the high school path.
Okay. All right. Any questions? I won't see none. All right. Thanks, sir. All right. And what will be the will of the committee on Senate Bill 374? Oh, is that what you? All right. Got a motion. Have a second? Got a second? All right. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I did have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Is my button flashing over there?
It is now. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Senator, I do have a question. I just went through Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor, and LinkedIn, and just, Google's land surveyors. And all these online job boards require for them to have a 4-year degree. And so I'm just curious. I understand where we are in trying to create a pipeline to help offset this deficit as there's an attrition going on. But if these individuals on these job boards are going to require land surveyors to have a 4-year degree, it would be somewhat disheartening for someone with an associate's degree and meet the qualifications on line 96, or a high school graduate and meet the requirements on lines 101, when everywhere they're going to apply is asking them to have a bachelor's degree. And so I'm just wondering, how do we offset what we're trying to do with this bill compared to what the real world is asking in terms of qualifications and experience when it comes to land surveyors?
If you don't, can I answer that question, if you don't mind? Go ahead. The reason they're asking it, because current law, you do have to have a 4-year degree. That's what we're changing here.
No, I get that, Mr. Chairman. I got that. But so what we're changing in the law is one thing, but what they're asking on these job boards is another.
But would they not be asking that because that is the current law now? So they want you to have a 4-year degree?
So we currently, in law currently, there's a high school diploma pathway, an associate's degree pathway, and a high school, and a 4-year bachelor's degree pathway. That's current law without this bill. It's just the field experience is really long for the high school diploma pathway. We're cutting down on the amount of field experience they have to have, and we're decoupling the exam, letting them take that right after they finish their coursework. So even the high school diploma has to have, I think it's 18 credit hours of land surveying.
That's right.
And they can take that exam immediately after taking that coursework. But to the senator's question, the House member's question, I think there's a lot of demand to hire licensed land surveyors in Georgia, and I think there are a lot of employers in Georgia, at least in my area of the state, that would hire them if they have that license, regardless of whether they have an associate's or high school or bachelor's degree. Mr. Johnson that spoke, he is a licensed land surveyor, and he went the, I think, high school diploma pathway, is that right?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson, and I think he would tell you that he would hire any they could get, regardless of which pathway they took. I don't want to speak for him, but these national, I mean, I don't know if they're looking at, I don't know what you looked up, but
Yeah, I just
I
look.
don't know if that's Georgia specific but for a long time, there's been these 3 different pathways, and according to what I'm being told, there aren't any licensed surveyors in Georgia that want to be actively working in the field, in that area as a licensed surveyor that aren't able to find gainful employment easily and have multiple offers generally.
So I was just
would ask the industry if they want to correct me. I don't want to.
As a follow-up, Mr. Chairman, so I'm just saying, if I just graduated from high school and I have 8 years of experience and I go online, LinkedIn, Indeed, all these national job boards, and I put my information in and I just put Georgia, like I just did, right? I just put John Doe in Georgia and I'm looking for a land surveyor job. Because most young people are going to go online, right? They're not going to go to a career fair. They don't know, Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones' job. They're going to go online. And if they go online and say, I'm going to put a land surveyor in there for Georgia and Macon, Georgia, and everything that it states that it requires a 4-year degree. I understand the essence in the spirit of this bill.
Let me tell you, so let's go the high school diploma route. They've got to have 8 years of field experience under a licensed land surveyor. So they're going to be, to get those 8 years, they're going to be working for a licensed land surveyor already. They're not just, I mean, that's how they get the field experience.
No, I get that, Senator.
So once they get their license, they're going to get either a big raise so that land surveyor can retain them, or they're going to be familiar then with the industry. They've worked in the industry for 8 years. They're going to know where to go to get a job if they're not happy at their current location. But really, this is kind of an apprenticeship program that the land surveyors provide to develop their own workforce. And the license, once he got his license, he or she, most of the time they're going to continue working at that same firm, just at a lot higher pay level. And this is just shortening down the amount of time it takes them to get to that point where they can be licensed and sign off on the plans and have, do the seal and all that stuff. But they will have already been working in the industry for 8 years, so I don't think they're going to be as relying on Google or whatever as you might think. They're going to know the industry after working in it for 8 years.
Okay.
All right, one more. Number 27.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, thank you for bringing this bill. I recognize that we need to make it so that we can have more land surveyors available. And I apologize for being late, and I was just trying to read through it quickly. One question about this: if a civil engineer with a civil engineer stamp can, by your bill or maybe currently, can a civil engineer sit for the land surveyor's examination without additional education other than being obviously having a civil engineering degree and a license to do that?
I don't know.
He cannot?
He has to have 18 credit hours in the surveying curriculum, which he may have some of it, and he has to have the experience.
He does have to have the experience. How long? I'm sorry, I'm having to ask. But.
He has a bachelor's degree, it'll be 3 years experience.
Okay. So a civil engineer has to have some land surveying courses as well and the required practical experience.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. And I know just like up in my area, it takes 3 to 6 months to get a surveyor to come out, and we're nowhere near as growing like everybody else is, but it's hard to even find them right now. But, all right, so we're done with that bill. All right.
Thank you.
What's the next one you want?
Um, all right, so that was 374.
Make a motion.
373,
Amend
Mr. Chairman, started out
and we'll
to
into that.
recognize basically the national standard for licensed marriage and family counselors,
Okay,
and to give reciprocity really to any one that holds that license so that they can work in Georgia without having to jump through a bunch of hoops. And what was added to it, I haven't had time to read.
okay, and, are you working off of, LC 365833S?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right,
And this will help us with we've got a mental health crisis in Georgia, just like we have all over the nation. We don't have enough providers to help address these mental health needs, and this will make it easier to have more providers in Georgia.
Yep.
So my original bill, I think, is Section 7.
okay. Okay. So this is just saying that, if you're licensed from another state and you can come here and work if the board approves you, correct?
Yes, sir, you would get an expedited license by endorsement.
Okay.
And there's a national exam they take. It's national standards. It makes a lot of sense
Okay.
to do this because it's already kind of nationalized anyway. It's uniform across the country.
All right. And then, let's see. Are any questions on that section?
I think Representative Mathiak maybe wanted to add the other language, but she and I weren't able to sit down together.
Okay.
This came up end of last week, and Qualified Applied Behavior Analysis Credentialing Board, an Autism Services Practitioner Supervisor. It's actually adding, I believe it's adding a new license,
Okay.
which is kind of counter to what I'm sort of trying to do. But I mean, I'm not against this, but I'm just saying we already have so many licensing boards. We have 42 different licensing boards just under the Secretary of State, and then there's licensing boards scattered all throughout the other agencies. I was trying to streamline and reduce, repeal, pare down, but this probably is a good idea. I don't know anything about it really.
All right. Well, why don't we get a question about section 7 or? Yeah. Okay. No, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Why 16? Who's 16?
Oh, I'm 16.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Ladies first.
I'm sorry. Thank you for bringing this in. I wanted to ask a question on line 114, section 5. And the rationale for decreasing the education requirement.
Can we wait till let's do section 7 first?
Oh, you're going through one section, okay.
Yeah, let's do section 7 first, the original bill. Then we'll go in and have good Lord. Okay. Let's do section 7, which is the original bill back to the marriage and family therapist. And then we'll go over and do the autism part that's been added onto it. So has anybody got any questions about section 7? Everybody good? All right. Now, does anybody wish to speak on the family and therapist, marriage and family therapist section of the bill? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Elizabeth Apley. I represent the Georgia Academy for Marriage and Family Therapy. I believe I've met with each of you individually about Section 7. We have broad support, as you know, from Georgians for a Healthy Future, from University of Georgia and Valdosta State that trains these people, from Voices for Georgia's Children, the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill, Grady Hospital, and others. We have the director of our advocacy committee here with me today, ready to testify, who's a professional at Grady. You may have seen today's front page article that corroborates the Chairman Walker's statement about the challenges that the mental health workforce is facing today. Commissioner Tanner tells us that during the pandemic, more than 1,200 state psychiatric hospital employees left their position. They've only been able to replace half of them. We have very strong standards across the country on licensure for marriage and family therapists, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but I know you have a lot to address. So I appreciate your positive consideration of Section 7.
Okay. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So now, let's go to the new section. And why don't we get somebody that knows what they're talking about this? Miss Gabby. Maybe she can answer all our questions. We won't have no more.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Gabby DeLees. I represent the Qualified Applied Behavioral Analyst Credentialing Board. I know it's a mouthful. So long story short, this sub is language from HB 1340 that reported favorably out of the Health Committee during crossover week. I just didn't have time to get through rules and onto the floor. The bill is relatively straightforward. Last biennial, the legislature created a Georgia Behavioral Analyst Licensing Board and only wrote in board certified behavioral analysts to license in the state. And the other major countrywide behavioral analyst certifying entity is QABA, and this language adds 2 seats to the board for QBA professionals to continue to be licensed in the state. QABA specializes in autism spectrum-related disorder treatments and care. We are included in TRICARE, which is military insurance, and our QBAs serve military families throughout the state at Fort Moore and Fort Eisenhower through the Exceptional Family Member Program offered through TRICARE, and this is for individuals with family members with special needs. So if you have a child who's diagnosed with autism and you're out of state, we can transfer you to Fort Moore or Fort Benning so that you can have those resources for the member of your family that needs them. This bill just basically ensures that military families that are already receiving care in the state can continue to have those licensed individuals. This board was already created. We're just adding 2 seats so that QBAs can continue to license in the state. If anyone has any questions, I can answer them.
Any questions? Did you push your button? This is section 1. Hang on a minute. Let's see. Yeah, it's section 2 through 6. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You guys good? Okay. Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
Okay. What about Kim Jones?
Thank you, Chairman. Kim Jones, Executive Director at NAMI Georgia, also proud mother of a child with a mental health condition. I am here to support Senate Bill 373, Section 7. I also wanted to point out that it did pass the Senate unanimously. I'm also a co-founder of the Georgia Mental Health Policy Partnership workforce, and straightening out the licensing hurdles that we have is a part of our advocacy guide, and I'm going to just pass out and share with you. We have almost 100 logos and partners who have signed on to the work that we're doing, so we really appreciate your support of House Bill 373.
All right, thank you. All right. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on section 7, the family marriage licensing part? Okay. All right, Roland Bim, is that how you speak?
I'm just here in support of
Okay.
section 7, sir.
All right. What about, I can't hardly read that. Is it Juliana?
I'm not Julianne, I'm speaking on her behalf.
There you go.
I'm Aubrey Valens with the Licensed Professional Counselors Association. I'm speaking on the other section that Senator Walker referenced that Representative Mathiak was putting in there. It's a bill, House Bill 1050, that had already passed this subcommittee, I believe unanimously. It passed the full committee unanimously, and it has to do with basically housekeeping part, who could supervise, and also changing certain quarter to semester so that it can meet the compact of state requirements across the country. We took out the privileged communication, which was already codified within the law somewhere else under the evidence code. We felt that wasn't needed. But as I said, this bill is already passed in the form of HB 1050, this subcommittee and the full committee, and just got caught in the time crunch with rules. So we would ask for your favorable support. I'll answer any questions you have. Even though I don't have the bill in front of me, I think I can probably answer them.
I don't think we have that part in here. Okay. Is it in this current bill?
It should be in the substitute.
No, is that the one, Senator, you said you didn't get to meet with Karen Mathiak to put that in there?
That's correct, and I guess that's in section 6.
That
5
would
and
be correct.
6, maybe. And
But
I don't know if
have
it's adding a license or if it's just cleaning up.
It's just housekeeping, striking who can supervise, and it's also changing 80 to 90 quarter hours regarding semester versus quarter, and that's it. And we did have in the original bill privileged communication, but as I've said, that is codified in another section of the law, the evidence, so I felt we didn't need that. So we struck that, not to belabor the bill anymore.
Okay. All right, got a question for you. Number 16.
Thank you. And I'm down to section 6, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. Could you tell me on line 114, was that stricken in the original bill that we passed already?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any other questions?
No, sir. No.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Is it Polly McKing? Hey.
Polly McKinney, voice.
Okay.
We are just in support.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So, Senator, you got any other statements on this bill? Are you good with everything?
I think so, Mr. Chairman. I'll get with Miss Gabby and on the qualified autism license. I applaud the good work they do. If they're currently doing work for TRICARE without a license, I guess my question is, why do we want to put them through the burdensome requirement of going through the Professional Occupational Licensing Board to be licensed? What's the value? But I'll talk to her, and I'd rather get my section 7 if that's what we needed to do.
Okay. So y'all didn't have this conversation about this
On the
before?
ropes, briefly,
Okay.
yes, sir.
All right. You want to come right quick?
So, thank you for the question. So the reason for why QBA has to be written in is because they created this licensing board last biennial. So they're both two independent certifying entities that were just able to certify in the state before we created this board. But because we created this board and only wrote in board certified behavioral analysts, they're the only people that can issue behavioral analyst licenses in the state now because of this. That we just want to have 2 seats on the board so QBA can continue to practice in the state. That
I think I remember
okay.
you telling me that now.
Yes.
But
It's been busy.
Anything else I can answer for you?
And my suggestion is, why don't we just repeal the board?
We can talk about that.
Okay. All right, number 16.
The answer that I am pro-licensing board because it protects the public and it makes sure that the standard of care that we're giving to our citizens is standardized and meets the requirements. So I'm pro-board, and I would hate to see us eliminate any type of board, especially when working with kids. That I've had a 30-year profession of working with kids with autism, and I do think that we need to protect our families.
All right, thank you. All right, what's the will of the committee on Senate Bill 373? All right, got a motion to pass? Second. Got a second? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that bill passes. Maybe you and Miss Gabby can get together when you come back for full committee. We may have a whole different bill. Who knows? All right. Well, let's see here. You got Senate Bill 449. Is that your last one?
That's it, yes, sir. And this is to recognize, so we have 10 major military installations in Georgia. We have about 700,000 veterans that live in Georgia. A little over 100,000 of them are still in the workforce. And we want to continue to encourage that. They make great citizens. Obviously, they've served their country. They've demonstrated discipline and responsibility and patriotism. So we want to retain and attract people exiting the military and get them into our private sector workforce. The biggest area we have shortages in workforce, it's in all areas, but it's in healthcare. This bill, the purpose is to require the Department of Veterans Services to work with the various agencies, DCH or Public Health, et cetera, to create a expedited pathway for medics and corpsmen exiting the military to get into our healthcare workforce. In a nutshell, that's what the bill is attempting to do. We've had lots of conversations with the various agencies. I had a good conversation this morning with Representative LaHood. He's very interested in this bill. He's in the healthcare field for his career outside of politics, and he's particularly interested in the CNA part, but it would allow them to go and to either be a CNA, a cardiac technician, a paramedic, a EMT, or a licensed professional nurse. And it would recognize the training and experience they've received in the military and streamline the process of them being able to work. It gives them 12 months. They could immediately go to work in the field that they're trained and qualified to work in. And it gives them 12 months to pass whatever exam they have to pass and get their license. So it's a workforce development bill that is pro-veteran, and I think it's a good measure. Now, I'm not sure, maybe something else was added to it, I don't know.
Well, yeah, we tried to add that and it got messed up, and in the thoughts time here, what we've done, we're going to add this other part here to it there whenever we get to some language about the advanced practice registered nurse bill that we had. We want to add, I think somebody's going to make a motion to amend and add that to it.
I'm supportive of that. I
Yes,
think
sir.
I'm familiar with that and supportive.
And I know, I appreciate you bringing this bill 449. I know that was an issue that came up, the work of the House Rural Development. It was a conversation we had down at Georgia Southern, when we was down there, that somebody that was a medic in the military couldn't even come out and be an EMT. And I thought that was insane. If you can patch up bullet holes, I mean, what else are you going to be doing in the back of an ambulance most of the time? And I had one of my friends call me the other day, and he was talking about his son's in the Marines. He said they fix everything there with an ibuprofen and a tampon. But I appreciate you bringing this bill, and I think that's going to help us out a whole lot with that. Got any questions on Senate Bill 449? All right. All right, and then you want to make a? Okay, yeah, let's do this first. So let's make a motion, to have a motion on Senate Bill 449.
Make a motion to pass SB 449.
All right, I have a second. All right, got a first and a second on House Bill 449. Now be the proper, what number you?
Mr. Chairman, just to be sure, sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So I have LC 460880S.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, sir. And number 7. All right. Is that you? No, what's oh, shit. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we amend and add the language from House Bill 215, which is LC 339633S, into SB 449.
All right. So got a.
I'll second
Okay. All right. So we're going to, got a motion to amend, to add Senate Bill, or House Bill 215 into Senate Bill 449. Got a motion, got a second? All right, all in favor?
Mr. Chairman, can you just give us a high level on what House bill that we're looking at?
That's amending House Bill 215, it should be.
It's with the registered nurses. We
Registered
talked about, it's
nurses.
one that we debated about
We-
the nurses being able to come out of military and go into the practice.
So this was this is a House bill that we passed out of this committee last year, and it stuck over in, the Senate Health, I think, over in the Senate. And so they took out we did pass one section of it about them being able to do the, handicap placards,
Let
but.
Julianne talk about that. I think that's what she signed up to speak.
Oh, there you are, yes.
Just want to specify, when you are saying the bill, you're actually referring to a substitute to that.
Correct.
To,
Right.
to House Bill
No,
215?
to 449.
And the LC number on that substitute to HB 215 is the LC 339633.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
That's what I was asking, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, and I'll briefly be glad to explain where this bill, this is the APRN license bill. And last year, we actually had a bill in the Senate and a bill in the House that both of them were the same, to authorize an APRN license. We're one of the few states in the nation that when you, an APRN, you get your RN license, and once you meet the requirements to become an APRN, right now in the law, you only get a piece of paper that says you're authorized to practice. Okay, this would grant a distinct APRN license with a license number. Now, the Senate Bill 164, when we had Senate Bill 164 and House Bill 215, Chairman Powell carried 215. It passed the House overwhelmingly. And then it's in the Senate HHS right now, but that's where it stayed from last year. Senate Bill 164, however, did move, it did pass, and it passed and was actually, then it went to the governor's office, and the governor's office with their legal counsel, they discovered that there was not adequate time that was included in the bill that gave the Secretary of State the adequate time to actually implement those licenses. So I sat down with the Secretary of State, the Board of Nursing, and the Governor's legal counsel. And they helped us in drafting this substitute language so that it now meets, and we saw it once the governor's staff, attorneys pointed it out, then we certainly understood, what they were talking about. So the governor's legal team has approved this language so that it does give adequate time for the Board of Nursing when you've got almost 18,000 APRNs. On July 1st, if you made the bill become effective July 1st, they could not administratively issue almost 20,000 license. So this gives it a time period for it to be implemented. So again, this language has been drafted by the governor's office and approved. And it is the chairman's bill, House Bill 215. But basically, other than that changes to the implementation, this body has already, this committee as well as the full House has already approved this bill. And we'd certainly appreciate your including and consideration. And actually, Senator Walker has worked very closely with us on a lot of our APR initiatives and certainly understands this licensing process too. So thank you. Unless I have any questions. Okay.
All right.
Without having that bill in front of me, but as I recall, you mentioned the placard also that the APRN were, is that still in the bill?
No, the placard language was taken out of this because it is in House Bill 557 that's actually already passed the House and the Senate and is on the governor's office. That was the Schedule 2 HB 557. So we took that placard language and put it on it. So it's already passed, so it's not included. This is strictly APRN license.
Thank you. You know what my question is, because when it passed this committee, the placard capability also was given to the physical therapist, doctors of physical therapy.
Right.
And so I'm just trying to follow it and find out what happened to that part of it.
I carried that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So what happened to it? I mean,
Well, why don't you talk offline about that part?
okay.
Okay. All right. So we've got a motion and a second on the amendment. All right. So got a motion and a second. All right. So all in favor to add House Bill 215 LC 339633S to Senate Bill 449, all in favor say aye. Any against? No. All right. So now we're going to vote on the bill as a whole. Is that right? All right. All right. Now we're going to vote on the bill as a whole. All in favor say aye. Any against? No. All right. The bill passes. Okay. Now then, you're good to go.
Thank you.
Hey, you need to find like a hobby or something.
You were, thank you, committee. Y'all were very helpful. I was pretty confused and rattled, like most senators are, I guess, but.
You're one of the best ones over there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Walker, you have a good day. All right. Got one more bill on the thing here, but I don't see Chairman Brass.
He's in rules.
He's in rules.
That's who I left to get here.
Okay. Well, since we got a little time, Mr. Woodall, you want to come up here and kind of speak on the bill? And committee members, you'll look at, if you have not looked at Senate Bill 503, it's only about 47 pages and 1,219 lines, and I read every single one of them.
Mr. Chairman, I'll hit the peaks of the waves versus going through this whole bill, but a little history. About 20 years ago, home builders and general contractors were not required to be licensed in the state of Georgia. We did not want to be licensed in the state of Georgia. What began to happen, all the states that touched Georgia required them to be a license. So Florida folks could come across the line and not have to have one, but we had to have one when we went to Florida, when we went to Alabama, when we went to Tennessee. So what began to happen, a lot of your local counties started adopting local ordinances with no reciprocity within the counties in Georgia. So that finally got our group and the home builders to say, less government is one statewide license versus having 159 county licenses. So that started us on this journey. Big bill. One of the things that we basically had to do to get it done is allow for grandfathering for everyone that was in the business that could meet the financial requirements of the law. So that took a number of years to get done, to get everyone submitted, and we got the license started moving. Our law allows you to be a sole proprietor or have a qualifying agent on behalf of the company. You have to have at least one, or you could have multiple qualifying agents. One of the things that we're doing in the bill to address this is the grace period. What happens quite a lot in our business, you have a family-run business, the patriarch of the family, the father passes away, and we have a very short amount of time to get junior through the process, to go to a prep course, to pass the test, to get the license. We're addressing that in this bill. We're also extending the time frame for replacing that qualifier, I said earlier, from 120 days to 180 days. Everyone thinks by whether you're residential or general, that you're a general contractor. We distinctly create a definition of a residential contractor, and we're adding the word commercial before general contractor. That makes the distinction between the two. We're moving the threshold from a requirement to meet 6 times a year to every 2 months.
Can I interrupt you just
Yes,
a second on that part? This question came up, and I'm afraid I'll forget. Currently now, there is a commercial contractor and a residential contractor.
There is a commercial general contractor, or there's a general contractor. If this passes, it'll be commercial general contractor. Then you have residential basic and residential light commercial, and those are on the residential side of the board.
So what is it currently right now?
Right now, it's residential basic. They do single-family homes. Residential light commercial is able to do small commercial projects based on square footage or height. And there's unlimited general contractor, the folks that are building your stadiums, your hospitals, and things of that nature.
So what will happen with those licenses? Will they now be moved to being a commercial?
We're not changing anything on the licensure structure other than adding the word commercial to general contractor, so it's distinctive. Any other questions
No,
on that
sir.
one?
That question, somebody just asked me that question earlier, so I just wanted to make sure I got, when you brought that up, it reminded me.
We're changing a threshold from small volume contractor from 5 million to 10 million in the code. Moving the time of when you have to have evidence of insurance till after you pass the exam, not having to have it before the exam and then you're failing it and you have insurance and you don't have a license. Increase the number of opportunities to take the exam from 2 times a year to 3 times a year, and make it obligatory versus permissive to grant a temporary non-renewal license to a business organization's financially responsible officer or partner to allow the completion of a contract already underway. So again, the qualified agent passes away, allow them to finish that project. And the last item, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, is raising the fine for misdemeanor fine from $500 to $1,000. That's the maximum amount under the law.
Okay.
Home builders, did I forget anything?
Nope. All right, got one question for you.
Yes, sir.
Representative Jackson.
Appreciate the peaks and waves analogy. Appreciate that as a good Navy man, coming from an Army man. But I do have 2 questions. On line 208, as you just mentioned, why do we want to increase the volume from 5 million to 10 million? Because the reason why I asked that question, because I always think about the small volume builders out there, independent contractors, and that every year is going to be a strong economic year, right? And this very well can negatively impact those small businesses out there. Why are we changing the threshold from 5 million to 10 million?
We're actually giving them more bandwidth. They can operate all the way up to the 10 million.
Okay, the way I read this, correct me if I'm wrong, shall be small volume builders with an annual contracting volume of less than
10 million.
So you're making it better for them.
We're trying to help.
Let them get into more, not cutting them off at 5. You let them go to 10.
Volume less than 10 million, then you're that. Right now, if you got to be less than 5 million. If you go over 5 million, then
You got a job for $5,200,000, you couldn't do it as a small man.
Oh, so you're changing, okay, from that perspective. All right. As a non-lawyer, I'm going to help y'all change this kind of language so it makes better sense. All right. My second question, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead.
And then the penalty going from 500 to 1,000.
That's the maximum fine under a misdemeanor. As I said, we've been under this for 20 years, so we're going up to the maximum allowed under a misdemeanor.
But are we seeing some sort of infraction? What led to that?
I can't give you a specific example, but 500. What page is that on?
That's on page.
Or what line? I'll find it.
I saw it on.
I don't have the line.
I just saw it on. 1,000.
I think if you watch Channel 2 News, you can find plenty where there's infractions going on, people that's not qualified. 849.
Thank you.
You said 49?
849.
No, line number.
Line 849.
Yeah.
Okay.
That, the maximum fine for misdemeanor is $1,000. That's where it's capped out. It's been at 500 for 20 years. So that was the logic, raising it to the threat, that $1,000 threshold.
Okay.
It's been $500 for 20 years.
And that's only because it's in this particular code, is that?
This is specific, I think, or a misdemeanor, I think. Generally, it's just
Yeah, anything over
$1,000 across.
$1,000
Yeah,
turns into
all of them,
felony.
yeah.
I'm just thinking because when you think about this type of work, they can, you know.
Representative Jackson, we're not 100% tied to it. It's, as I said, we're trying to look at the cost of what you could buy for $500 20 years ago and what you're buying today. But
Right.
1,000 is the max that you would be able, that we can go as calling it a misdemeanor.
I just question, Mr. Chair, maybe it's a Sean Marie question. Is it maxed at 1,000 only because it's in this particular code, the
No,
Georgia
it's
code?
for it to be a misdemeanor, that's the max you can charge under misdemeanor. Then if you go over that, it's got to be a felony charge.
I thought I said something different. Okay.
It's actually saying that the fine would have to be $1,000 or more.
I think.
Because it can't be less than 1,000 on 849.
So it can't be less to 1,000.
That's what line 849 says.
Then line 893 says upon conviction shall be subject to a fine of not more than $1,000. What's that for? That's for.
Yeah, see, the way I read it, 1,000 is the minimum. Am I wrong, Sean Marie? Not less than.
I think it is, but obviously
So it can be more than 1,000. Yeah, okay.
So
All
is it, Jean-Marie, is it, if you go over 1,000, can you still be a misdemeanor, or does that not throw you into, under the law? Does it not throw you into a
I've seen
felony?
folks been charged 5,000 and still a misdemeanor.
But it's for one infraction?
The General Assembly can define the punishment. If you don't define it for a misdemeanor, then there is a default.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, that's what happens when we start using less than, not less than, greater than. See?
It's those triangles that don't have a bottom.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Mr. Chairman, could I supplement some of that answer as well?
Yes, go right ahead.
If it's not too late. Austin Hackney with the Home Builders Association, and thank you, Representative Jackson, for the question. You know, one of our members' biggest complaints about their state license is that, that the punishments for breaking the rules, don't fit the crime, that these are, these projects can be hundreds of thousands of dollars in value, and the fine for breaking the laws is $500. So we like that the number is going up because, hopefully it'll deter some bad actors. But the biggest infractions that we see from the practitioners are, unlicensed work. So, either you as a homeowner have applied for the building permit, which is totally acceptable, but then you've got a contractor who's telling you that they'll do the work for you, but they just can't pull the permit. Well, that's unlicensed work. And if they were to just take all your money and run, you don't have any recourse for being able to do something about that. So, the license gives us some recourse on the back end, but for the folks that are operating without it, the punishment is this $1,000 fine, and hopefully it could be a lot more than $1,000 if the project's that much more valuable. But we also see people who have a license and they rent it out to an unlicensed contractor for money, and so they're bringing in tens of thousands of dollars off of that license rental, which is totally illegal. But the punishment of $500 is a pretty easy check to write for that kind of project. So we think that the increase is a good idea.
So to your point, so is it in law that if I hire a contractor to do some work for me, is it under law that he has to go pull the permit, or is it a choice? I can go pull it or he can go pull it?
Under the law today, the homeowner or the contractor can pull the permit.
Okay. All right.
And
Number
this wouldn't
20.
affect that at all.
All right, number 27.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm sorry the bill's so long. I was trying to find this. I've heard from some folks seeking a residential license, and just a simple question about that. Is there formal educational requirement to be able to sit for that, or can someone sit for the license exam? And I'm not emotionally overcome and wiping away tears because of the question. My allergies are bothering me. Are there classroom requirements, or can anyone who's capable go sit for the exam?
It's a 4-year requirement. You can have a 4-year degree from University of Auburn or one of those construction programs, or you can have a combination of practical experience and college. So
Okay,
you got to get to 4. You could have 2-2, 1-3, whatever it is, but get to the 4 years.
Or no classroom experience as long as you have practical experience?
Yes, sir.
Is there a limitation on how often someone can sit for that residential exam?
Yes. Right now it's 2, and we're suggesting we move it to 3 in this legislation.
So
Three
they can-
times a year.
So they can sit for it for up to 3 times in a year. If they fail 3 times, and of course that's, so then what? They wait,
They have to wait.
how long? Another year?
Under current law, they have to wait a year from their last failed test. So the second test, under this bill, we propose that they only have to wait a year from the date of their original application.
And you're adding one opportunity to pass
Correct.
within the year.
Correct.
Okay.
Not making them wait a whole year from the last test that you had.
And you're letting them take it 3 times instead of 2. Okay, thank you.
Good enough.
Also, I was following up on Representative Jackson's question. What lines are in the bill or deal with the limits of taking it from the 5 to 10 million? I was just curious about that.
On the exam?
No, on the bill itself.
It's,
Small volume. The small volume.
849 is the striking 500.
On the small volume general contractor qualification to be on the board.
Line 114, Representative?
And Representative, that really only applies to the qualifications for that general contractor to serve on the licensing board.
Okay.
As a way to make sure that different segments of the market are being recognized there.
Okay, thank you.
208.
Me and my co-host here, this goes to, if you are found to be in violation, does that go before your Superior Court, Magistrate Court? Who does that go before?
Let's see if it says it in the bill.
Or we can talk about it offline. I was just curious about, I seen something that said Superior Court on part of it, but I wasn't sure if that was,
Line 863.
huh?
863.
863. Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
the
Superior
money's
Court of the
smooth.
county in which such individual resides or the business is located for restraining order or injunction. Yeah, okay, so it goes to Superior Court. All right. Y'all did a great job. Senator Brass just texted me and said, you're carrying the bill, so you present it. And I said, we already done it. All right, y'all got any more questions? Do I have anybody else wish to speak on this bill? Great. All right, what's the will of the committee?
Motion do pass.
All right, got a motion do pass. Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
All right. Well, thanks for everybody hanging with us. It's been a good day. Y'all have a good afternoon. This meeting's adjourned.